The arena was colossal, carved from ancient stone and filled with the roars of alien spectators. The sun of a distant star beat down on the sands, casting long shadows as the gates on either side of the arena creaked open. On one side stood Cato Valen, a human, Earth's chosen gladiator, sent to represent humanity in a brutal intergalactic spectacle that had claimed hundreds of lives before him. On the other, Zalcor, the undefeated champion of the Krithar Dominion, a warlike species with a long, bloody history of conquest. Zalcor's legend was known far and wide. No one had ever defeated him. He towered over his enemies, his 6 massive arms each holding a weapon of death, his body coated in an exoskeleton as hard as steel, and his glowing eyes burning with ruthless intelligence. His species was bred for war. Each Krithar a born fighter, but Zalcor was the pinnacle, a perfect killing machine. For weeks, Cato had heard stories about Zalcor's previous fights. His opponents had been torn limb from limb, crushed, impaled, or sliced apart before they even had a chance to swing their weapons. But Cato wasn't like the others. He didn't have their strength or advanced armor, but he had something else: resolve. He had survived Earth's pits, its underground arenas, and now the entire galaxy was watching him. He wasn't just fighting for his own life. He was fighting for the honor of his species. The arena master's voice boomed across the Colosseum, speaking in a language Cato had come to understand, though it wasn't his own. The challenger from Earth, a planet on the fringes of known space, Cato Valen. Facing him, the undefeated champion, Zalcor the Unyielding. The crowd, a mass of aliens from across the galaxy, cheered wildly for Zalcor. He was their champion, a symbol of Krithar dominance. To them, Cato was just another doomed human. Zalcor stepped forward, his massive frame casting a shadow over the entire arena. His 6 blades glinted in the sun as he pointed one at Cato. "You are not the first human to face me, and you will not be the last," Zalcor growled, his voice deep and reverberating. "Surrender now, and I will grant you a swift death. Resist, and I will make your end a slow one." Cato smirked, gripping the hilt of his sword tightly. "Funny. I was about to say the same thing." The alien warrior's eyes narrowed, and with a sudden roar, Zalcor charged, moving faster than anyone of his size should have been able to. His 6 blades slashed through the air with terrifying precision, each one aiming for a vital spot on Cato's body. But Cato was no stranger to overwhelming odds. Years of training, of fighting in the brutal underground pits of Earth, had honed his reflexes. He ducked and rolled under the first set of blades, his movements a blur as he narrowly avoided the second and third. Zalcor's strikes were relentless, each blow coming faster and harder than the last. Cato parried one, but the force behind it nearly knocked his sword from his hand. He grit his teeth, knowing that he couldn't win a direct contest of strength. Zalcor was too powerful, too fast. Instead, Cato used his size and agility to his advantage. He darted around Zalcor, landing quick strikes at the alien's joints and exposed areas of his exoskeleton. His sword cut through the air, but each hit barely left a mark. Zalcor's armor was impenetrable, just as the legends had said. The crowd roared in approval of Zalcor's dominance. They expected this, the same scene they'd seen countless times before, an alien champion overwhelming a lesser species. But Cato wasn't just any human. He was Earth's best, and he had a plan. Zalcor swung again, his 6 blades slicing the air where Cato had been just moments before. Cato sidestepped, using the alien's momentum against him. Zalcor stumbled, only for a fraction of a second, but it was enough. Cato struck, driving his sword into the unarmored flesh behind Zalcor's knee. The alien roared in pain and rage as green blood sprayed from the wound. The crowd gasped, stunned. No one had ever made Zalcor bleed. "You think a single cut will stop me?" Zalcor spat, his voice full of venom. He pushed through the pain, swinging his blades in a wild arc. Cato barely avoided the strike, but one blade caught him on the shoulder, slicing through his armor and sending a shock of pain through his body. Kato staggered but kept his feet. He couldn't afford to lose focus, not now. Zelkor was hurt, but he was still far from defeated. The alien warrior advanced again, his movements slower now, but just as deadly. As Zelkor closed in, Kato realized that he couldn't win this fight by playing it safe. He needed to take a risk, something bold, something unexpected. Zelkor lunged, his blades raised high. But instead of retreating, Kato ran straight at him. The alien's eyes widened in surprise as Kato slid under his legs, slicing at the other knee. Zelkor roared again, stumbling forward, his balance thrown off by the sudden attack. Before the alien could recover, Kato sprang up, driving his sword into Zelkor's back with all his strength. The blade pierced through the alien's thick exoskeleton, hitting vital organs. Zelkor staggered, his massive frame swaying as he dropped to one knee. He tried to swing his blades, but the strength was draining from his body. The crowd was silent, watching in disbelief as their champion, the invincible Zelkor, fell to the ground. Kato stood over him, panting, his body battered and bruised, but still standing. Zelkor looked up at him, his glowing eyes dimming. "Impossible," he muttered, his voice weak. "No human could defeat me." Kato knelt down beside the fallen alien, meeting his gaze. "You underestimated us. We're not just flesh and bone, we're spirit, and we fight for more than just survival." With one final breath, Zelkor's body went still, his eyes closing for the last time. The silence in the arena was deafening. Kato slowly rose to his feet, turning to face the crowd. They stared back at him, a mix of shock and awe in their eyes. And then, slowly at first, a single cheer erupted from the stands. It spread like wildfire until the entire arena was on its feet, cheering not for Zelkor, but for the human who had done the impossible. Kato raised his bloodied sword high, a symbol of humanity's defiance and strength. He had come to this alien world as a gladiator, but he would leave as a legend,